session. This is the very first episode of us being able to share with more people about making a decision at which university to complete their PGCE at. As it says on the screen, my name is Carla Watson, and I'm head of the Graduate Teaching Fellowship, which is exactly the space you need to be in right now. In this session today, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Samora in a bit, who's going to host you and host our wonderful University of Pretoria representative here today. But before I do that, I want to just ground you a little bit in Gerwel Fellowship and what it is we do and what it is we don't do. And there's a picture on your screen right now of a gentleman who is in fact the late Prof. Gerwel. And I want to let you know about the reason we are, of course, carrying his name and have his namesake in the work that we do. What JGF does is to honor Prof. Gerwel in his vision and belief in social justice and education being the vehicle of affecting that change. Now, for those of us in the Western Cape, there's a whole road called Gerwel, but it's a bit deeper than that in terms of the legacy and impact that Prof left with South Africa. Most importantly, I guess, is that he was a senior advisor to the former President Nelson Mandela, and the link to the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation endowment, which is our funder, is that he sat on the very first board as the chair of the board for the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation. And with complete bias, I would say that the most important accolade of this guy and his work in South Africa is the fact that he was a high school teacher in the Western Cape at a school called Grassy Park High. Now, JGF is particularly focused in looking for incredible people who want to become teachers and teach in high school, only high school at this stage. And I want to give you an overview of this week so that you know what you can expect from the different episodes for this week. So today is the first one. We are with the University of Pretoria, one of the founding university partners of JGF. So I'm particularly excited to be able to host them today through Sam's work. This will run for a full hour. Then tomorrow we have the University of Cape Town, and they are presenting to us for an hour, and followed by Wits, and then followed by the University of Johannesburg. 4 incredible partner universities that we have associated with, but also the PGCE offering is phenomenal. And even if you are sitting here and you are a Gerwel candidate fellow making your decision about whether to study at UP next year, or someone has asked you to come and watch this because you're considering teaching and you're considering studying at the University of Pretoria, I want to put on the screen for you a couple of social media handles and how you can find out more about what we do, but also, most importantly, is share this information with anybody else who might be considering PGCE at any of the universities that you know we're going to be covering this week. So you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube is where this recording will go. So you can share it as widely as possible, please, because the more people who want to become teachers, the more we are closer to reaching our vision as JGF, which is positioning teaching as an aspirational career and looking for people just like you to be able to affect the change this country, as we know, demands and needs in this time. So like I said, my name's Carla. I will be on the call with you, but I'd love to hand over to my colleague, Samora Menze, who is a program officer at the Gerwel Fellowship. I'm bringing his face and his voice into the room, and I'm very excited to hear him host our UP representative and our candidate fellows today. Samora, over to you.
Thank you so much, Carla. Wow, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. And for me, it's such a wonderful privilege to be able to host this session. And being the first session for the week, it's quite nerve-wracking and also exciting, so I can't wait to get started. Firstly, I would like to welcome all our guests today. Whether you're joining us from Joburg or anywhere around the country, you are welcome. And then a very special welcome to our special guest, our panelists, Dr. Kotliso and Surprise and Spiwe, who will be speaking and bringing their voices in. And as Carla shared, that I'm a program officer at Gerwel Fellowship, and I'm very excited about this. We have 1 hour together, and in this hour, I'm going to bring in Dr. Kotliso to just speak to us about the application process for the UP PGCE program. And then I'll also be bringing in students, our candidate fellows who are currently at the University of Pretoria. So Surprise and Spiwe, I'll call them in later to share their experiences there. And then I'll open it up for questions, and then I'll let the speakers respond to your questions. Now, as you guys may be aware, that at JGF, we're very passionate about education. And we really want to make a massive impact in the education system in our country. And we believe that teachers are at the core of this. And so I would like to invite you to just tell us who your favorite teacher was and why. So drop your responses in the chat and let us know who your favorite teacher was and why. It'll be interesting to hear that. And I'd like to ask Sihle if you can play some music in the background while we look at the responses. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your responses. I've got a couple there. I've got Iviwe, and he's saying that Mrs. Cornelius, my Afrikaans teacher, she believed in me when I didn't. And I've got Miss Numpumelelo Gube. They're coming in so fast, I'm struggling to get to read all of them.
I got you, Sam. No problem. Go on.
A teacher from Vuyiseka High School. She was more of a mother than a teacher. Wow, incredible. Now I'm not going to be able to read all of these, as you guys can. I'm sure you're able to read up and check the chats. A lot of those coming through. Thank you so much for sharing. I think let's get started with our first speaker today. So I would like to bring up Dr. Xolani Kotliso. Dr. Xolani is a lecturer and also the PGCE coordinator at the University of Pretoria. Dr. Xolani lectures methodology of isiZulu and literacies. He is a big promoter and activist for African languages as languages of research, teaching, and learning. So Dr. Xolani, would like to bring you in here, and you can start with your presentation.
Thank you, Samora. I'm told here you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Okay. Dr. Xolani, we've got your PowerPoint slide ready. Sihle will do that for you.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you very much for hosting me today. It is an honor and a privilege as well to be invited in this webinar to share what we do at University of Pretoria in terms of postgraduate certificate in education. I know in South Africa, there are some ideas and misconceived ideas about PGCE and people who are doing PGCE or students and so on, because it's always an idea of saying it's someone who started somewhere and then he could not succeed wherever he was, then he came back. But actually that's not the idea. I always say I commend those people who start somewhere and also come back here with so much knowledge and information about the particular subject that they are specializing in. I've recently, just to share with you and to support what I'm saying, I was liaising with one of the universities in Kenya. They have ruled that they want to phase out B.Ed and introduce PGCE as the only qualification that will produce educators within the country. It is legislated. They are saying they want students to start from Bachelor of Arts, in theology, wherever that, in science, in all other departments, they do their qualifications there. Once they are convinced that they have that much knowledge or information in the subject area, then they come back to do PGCE, which is going to give them a methodology to teach. So I want to substantiate my point when I'm saying I always commend people who start somewhere and come with so much information and knowledge from other departments or from other areas of specialization, and then they come to PGCE within the fraternity of education. As it has been said, I'm Xolan Kotliso. I'm going to present to you in terms of our structure of our program at University of Pretoria. Firstly, I must indicate that sometimes there are confusions between PGCE and PGDeep. There is another one that was called PGDeep that we used to offer. This one, it is a certificate, and it must be clear that it is not a postgraduate a unit. I know it is written, or it is always presented as a postgraduate a certificate, but it falls under undergraduates. That is why it is NQF level 7. It is a 1 year program which is full time. If you can proceed, next slide. Or can I move? I can't. Okay. All right. What is PGCE? PGCE is a program or a qualification that is DHET approved, SAQA, CHE, and SACE approved, which enables you to become a qualified educator within institutions of learning in South Africa. I know, I mean, even when you apply now for lecturer job, and if you are applying specifically within the Faculty of Education, they will always ask you to present a certificate from education. It could be a PGCE, it could be BEd, and so on. So we have now graduated from the position of just employing lecturers because they have masters or PhDs and so on. But a teaching qualification, it is the best tool that one can offer and also use in an institution of learning. This certificate, we are presenting it at UP in different phases, 2 phases. Previously, we used to have a foundation phase and intermediate, but we phased it out and also subscribing to new requirements and provisions of the Department of Higher Education. We are now offering 2 phases or specializations in terms of teaching training, which is senior and FET phase. Senior and FET phase start from grade 7 up until grade 12. And then we are also offering further education and training. We call it an FET phase, which start from grade 10 to grade 12. So in order for you to be admitted to this program, you are required to have completed your diploma or a degree, which is constituted of 360 credits. Then it must be from within South Africa or outside. If it's from outside, you must provide a SAQA, or it must via through SAQA for validation and so on. So if you happen to be outside South Africa, you must make sure that your qualification, you send it through SAQA for validation, so that they give you a permission that you can put an application through to us, so that we will process your application. If you can proceed. Right. So for senior phase or senior FET phase, which we said it is grade 7 to grade 12. So this is a combination of two phases, which is senior phase. Remember, senior phase start from grade 7 to grade 9. And then FET start from grade 10 to 12. So in order for you to qualify for a senior, an FET phase, you should have two school-related subjects that you have done in your first qualification or in your first degree. So in these two qualifications, in the first one for senior, you are required to have done that module or school-related subject from year 1 up until second year. So if you have done, like, for example, we can say maybe you did life orientation for that. I'm making an example. You did life orientation from first year till second year. So which means you now qualify for senior phase. And then for FET, you need to have completed your degree with a school-related module or subject from first year up until your third year. This means, let's say, okay, let me put an example of English. Maybe you have done English from your first year up until your third year. So you now have two modules or two subjects that are related to school that you can use to apply for senior and FET phase. Okay, then we have the second phase, which is FET. If you can move. Oh, okay. Right. In FET phase, because we understand, or the department understood, that it is possible for other students not to have these two. Okay, go back. Thank you. It is possible that you do not have these two. So if you do not have these two, we can accept you with one. You should have two school-related subjects that you have done. Okay, there's a game that is playing here. I don't know what's going on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but it's
you know,
okay.
technology just when you need it.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So for option A, you can do, you are required to have two subjects that are school related, which you not have two. Maybe you have only life sciences that you have done from first year up until your third year. Then we are making we are making a provision for you to say, come with your one a module or subject that you have done from first year till your third year, because we are going to offer you another module that is designed specially for you. We call it JNM, which is a research module. So we are saying there, you can come with one module and then we will give you another one that you will be starting from your PGCE. So only this provision is only for FET. In the senior FET, you are required to have these two school-related subjects, but for FET, give you the second one. All right. Thank you. You can proceed to the next slide. Thank you. PGCE consists of an academic component and also a teaching practice component. Normally in other spheres, they call it work integrated learning. It's called WIL. We also call it like that when we feel like, but the normal term is teaching practice. So these two components are presented like if we are talking about, if we are referring to academic component, we are referring to the theory that you are going to get from these learning areas or from modules that you would have registered for. And then you are going to register for 2 other modules, which represents a teaching practice where you are going to go to schools. You go twice for second quarter of a year. You go to school for 4 weeks. Normally you go to any school. It could be in your area, whether you're in Eastern Cape or where, but for second one, which is 8 weeks teaching practice, you must be in Pretoria, because we are going to assess you. You are not going to be assessed only by the principal of the school and also the teacher in that school, but you are going to be assessed by a university mentor lecturer. That is why we want you to be within the vicinity of Pretoria or within the Pretoria region. We support you through lecturers, mentor lecturers, through principals in schools and mentor teachers, because we have a relationship with schools around Pretoria in ensuring that the process of teaching and teaching practice goes smoothly and you are well taken care of. We always emphasize, if you encounter challenges, there you report to us, we attend to those challenges. But as you go for a will for teaching practice, we are there every step of the way to support you in any form. And we also at University of Pretoria have an office that is specifically looking into the will matters or teaching practice matters, which are going to give you support. If you are within our residencies, we transport you from campus to schools, and then from schools to come back from campus if you are staying in res. So we provide that support, transport support, because we want to make sure that our students go there on time. And we also have qualified mentor teachers and mentor lecturers who goes to school and support you and also give you feedback after assessing you and give you other opportunities in order to make sure that you meet the standard of the university. Yes, you can continue. Next slide. Compulsory for every PGCE student. It's the first one, global and social perspectives in education, foundation, and so on. When you look down there, you will see that there is a conversational competency, which is isiZulu, Sepedi, and Setswana. So that module is also compulsory. But if you are competent in terms of isiZulu or in your Sepedi or Setswana, you are able to use those languages or to communicate, we give you a competency test, because all students in University of Pretoria, and I'm sure in other universities, they ought to do one African language and you must pass it, or because it's for conversational. Why we are doing this? It's because we want our students to be competent in terms of conversing in another language outside English, because your client or your clients will not always be people who understand English. For example, you get employment in one of the rural areas, or even if it's not rural areas, but you get the employment in township or wherever, then there's a parent who comes in here, or you call parent meeting and you want to speak to them. You use English, yes, as a medium of instruction in that particular school, if that is the case. But it happens that there is a parent who does not understand English. At least you are able to converse with that particular parent. although sometimes you may need support from other colleagues or other parents, but it shouldn't be the case that you are totally blank. You don't even know one African languages. I mean, if you are in South Africa and you don't know if at least one of the African languages, you still have a task to start or to start with, so that you make sure that you are. Oh, okay. There's a comment there. So that you make sure that you understand and be able to converse with your clients. And then we have these teaching practice modules. I was supposed to put codes there because the first one is called Pro 451, and then the other one is Pro 454, because you go for teaching practice for second quarter. You do what you are being assessed by a school principal and also a mentor teacher. But for the second one, now we add a mentor lecturer. That is why I've put 2. So all of them, they form part of a core modules. So what I've forgotten to indicate there under conversational competencies is that once you pass the test that would have given you, you are then credited to continue with other modules, and we're giving you a pass in that conversational competency. Unfortunately, for now, we are only doing it in these 3 African languages. We are still going to introduce more, such as isiNdebele. Yes, we do offer isiNdebele as an area of specialization, but in terms of competency, conversational competency, we still lack capacity there, and we are working hard to find people and also get funding for that particular module to be offered as well. Thank you. You can proceed. And then here we have example of senior phase subject that you would have chose one out of them, out of the list. What I did here, I highlighted some, like the ones that I've highlighted in red. Because of numbers, we are finding it difficult to continue with them. Like this year, not even a single student who's doing social sciences, not even a single student who's doing art and culture, not even a single student who's doing EMS. So in fact, that art and culture is now called creative arts. So we are in a process of phasing them out because of numbers, because of students who are not keen in doing them. So what we normally do, we only offer a module if we have at least 5 students and going upward, because it becomes a fruitless expenditure to employ a lecturer who's going to teach a module with that has only 1 student. So we've been trying to get students in terms of these learning areas, but we are failing. But then we are still going to offer in 2022 languages for senior phase, mathematics, and then natural sciences. I know in subjects like natural sciences, you would find that someone has done physics, someone has done chemistry, biological science, or biology, and so on. So we look at your academic record after you have put your application, you have learned in your physics or in your chemistry, is it relevant to the one that is offered at school? Now, these are the examples of senior phase subjects that we are offering. Next slide, please. In FET phase, we still have a lot that we are offering. As you can see, your accounting, your Afrikaans, your African languages. In terms of African languages, we are offering isiZulu, we are offering isiNdebele, we are offering isiTswana, we are offering is a paid. So you can specialize in one of the four. And then we have business studies, economics, English, geography, history, life sciences. Again, in terms of life sciences, you will find that someone has done another course, like maybe in another in the field of life sciences. Maybe you did your biology, your biological science, your botany, your zoology, your biochemistry, your microbiology, and so on. So when you put in your application, we look into those modules that you have done at school or at the university in your undergrad degree or diploma. Then we have mathematics and mathematics literacy, and then we have physical sciences, we have tourism, visual arts. With visual arts as well, there are those who did art history, and demonstrated skills. And then we've got those who did music theory and demonstrated skills, and so on. And then we have consumer studies, dance studies, and dramatic arts. So also hospitality, we were offering it, and but now because of numbers as well, we decided that we must remove it. And also dance studies, I forgot to highlight it. It doesn't have students, unless I don't know a miracle from where we can get those students. So these are the examples of FET phase. So if you have one of these that you have done in your undergrad or in your first degree, then we can accommodate you and give you JNM as the second subject. You can move. Yes, so we are in the process of trying to redesign our PGCE, but this is still maybe we can introduce it in 2023. I'm just giving you heads up to say we are considering some factors that sometimes are contributing towards a decline in terms of numbers. One, this year you will note that Department of Higher Education, NSFAS, has decided to withdraw themselves from offering PGCE students funding. NSFAS, those loans for NSFAS. So quite a number of students that are struggling to continue with their studies because they don't have funding. So that is why we sat down and said, no, let us come up with something, because some students, they come to us and ask if the program is offered as part-time or distance and so on. For now, it is still full-time, but we are considering this model, which we call it hybrid model of course delivery, where we are saying we are going to offer core modules online, maybe after hours, like starting from 4 to maybe to 6 or to 7. It will depend how we structure it. And then electives modules, we offer it in block sessions or in block offering. What do we mean if we say in block offering? It's where we say now that schools are closed, we are taking the whole week. Students are on campus, lecturers are there. You do your module within a week, you finish it, so that you are free to continue look for opportunities of employment and so on, because we are taking note that some students are full-time employed, and it is difficult to tell someone to drop his or her employment because he wants to join PGCE, which is offered during the day. And then you expect that particular candidate to also pay the fees. So if you are paying fees and you don't have support, maybe from NSFAS or from JGF, it's a challenge. So, which means you've got to get to do something so that you get money and pay your fees. So it is for that reason we are deciding to modernize the program, and because students are struggling out there, of which we are appreciating such organizations as this one, GJF, which is assisting our students in terms of finances and all support that they need. And also to accommodate employed prospective students, as I've indicated, because you will find that some of them, they are like this year, I had quite a number of students that had to drop the program because they initially thought it is a program that they can attend online because of COVID, but it is offered online, but during the day. That's the problem. And the university policy does not allow one to simply write assignments and so on and don't attend classes. Remember, we are not a distance university. We are a contact university, and our program is contact. So I had like music students who are employed, who are working as teachers. They wanted to get qualification for teaching, but now they were unable because during the time we're having classes during the day, they are expected to be in their classrooms. Therefore, they are unable to continue with the program. Next, I think yes, these are the contacts, our contacts. I am coordinating the program, specializing more on the academic side of it. If you have inquiries or administrative inquiries, you are more than welcome to send your email to Ms. Kayla Lottering. And then for application related inquiries, please contact these people. It's Miss Tandi Mngomezulu, and then we've got Miss Manana Shabalala. So those two are the ones that are going to be more useful to you if you are putting your application. Mina, I'm dealing with you more once you have been accepted and you have challenges or problems or things that you want us to discuss, or any other questions that are academic related. It could be in terms of application, like the learning areas that you're supposed to choose from. The closing date for 2022 is the 31st of August, 2021. Chair of the session, thank you very much for an opportunity.
Siyabonga, Dr. Koshiso. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for going in detail there about the program. Before I move on to the next speakers, the next question here, I've got one question from Nkosi Ngipile. Nkosi Ngipile is currently teaching children from the township and villages art and design. And Nkosi Ngipile has completed a diploma in fine arts and a certificate in graphic design. So they've done this from first year to third year. The question they have is, do I qualify for senior and FET qualification? And the question also is, do you have part-time course for long distance learning? This is for someone who's employed. So I think you might have touched on some of this also, but if you can just give a response there from Nkosi Ngipile.
Okay. Thank you, Nkosi Ngipile, for the question. Indeed.
Clear. There are a number of questions as well, but we'll bring those up later. Right now, I would like to bring we've got two rock stars from the University of Pretoria. They are our candidate fellows at Jake's Gerwel Fellowship, and they're also doing their PGCE at UP. So I will start off with Spiwe Mnisi. who is doing his business studies and mathematics as a method subjects. Spiwe, can you come in, sir? Bring in your voice.
Thank you very much, Samora. Can you hear me?
100%.
Excellent.
So Spiwe, yeah, I just wanted you to just maybe tell the audience a little bit about your experience applying for PGCE at the University of Pretoria.
All right. Thanks a lot, Samora. Good afternoon, everyone, including the listeners. My name is Sipio Mnisi, as Samora has highlighted, and I'm just going to jump straight into it, cognizant of time. The application process for me, I should say it was fairly easy and understandable, especially considering the fact that the website from the University of Pretoria has literally everything that we need in order for us to apply smoothly on their site. And I'm a person who enjoys watching a lot of videos. So there was an exact video there guiding us step by step, especially as first-time applicants, as to how to go about the application process. And of course, after I have gathered all the information I was looking for regarding PGCE, I conveniently completed that process in just one sitting. So I should say the application process is really convenient. And just to speak a little bit about my experience with PGCE, the keyword that I would like to use for this course is that it's a mind shifter. So before you enter this course, you might have a different understanding of teaching, but after I've partook in this course for the past couple of months, I should say that I have gained a lot of interest, and I've noticed that there's actually big change leaders that are necessary in this course. And as I've been attending my classes from the lecturers, of course, I have noticed that most of the lecturers, they actually have practical industry experience when it comes to teaching. So some of them have been teachers themselves, others have been principals and so on. And the way in which they fuse their practical understanding with the content that we need to learn, I find that very, very valuable, considering the fact that we only have 1 year to study, and after that we are going into the practical space. And this year around May, early May, I actually had an opportunity to do my practical sessions at one of the schools. And most of the stuff that we were discussing during class, I actually saw them playing out in front of my eyes as I was standing in front of those learners. So the practical understanding from that side helped me because I could be able to respond appropriately to the learners. As we know, learners can sometimes need guidance from people who actually know the way. The other thing that I'd like to highlight about this course is I'm still learning, and I've also learned that as much as I can be considered a subject matter expert in business or mathematics, but PGCE has taught me that it is very important for me to understand the management side of my classroom. I mean, I can prepare the lesson plan 100%, but if I cannot manage disruptive behavior from learners, it will affect the delivery of the content. So that is a skill that I have actually developed and I'm still developing within the course of PGCE. And the other point that I'd like to highlight about the course is the fact that it has a nice mix or balance, if I can put it, between the coursework and research. So myself, for example, I'm an individual who has gained experience in teaching and would like to study further. So the research part of it is actually providing me with the foundation of the requirements when I proceed with my postgraduate studies. Eh? And the lecturers, they have been precisely honest with us that, and I believe most of us in this meeting can agree that South Africa needs change leaders in the classrooms. And the subject of being a change leader is exactly what Jake's Gerwel Fellowship is talking about. That's the language that the fellowship uses. So when I look at that content, including the expertise that I'm gaining from Jake's Gerwel Fellowship, it's easy for me to fuse the two, and they speak one language in them creating me to become a change leader. So yes, those were my experience in a nutshell. And I should say I'm almost halfway through my PGCE, but I feel ready already to take on the challenges and stand in front of those learners. Thank you, Samora.
Wow, awesome, Spiwe. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, sir. Without any further ado, surprise, Baloyi, can you come through? By the surprise?
I'm sorry, I seem to have a problem with starting my video. It says I'm surprised Baloyi as I have been introduced, doing PGCE specializing in life sciences methodology. Okay, thank you, Spiwe. You've said a mouthful about the experience of application and also the PGCE. But to add on that, I would like to say that for my experience with applying, I found it to be fairly simple. This is because there is thorough information and it guides you on every step of the application. Okay, and then if you need any assistance, for example, with registration, the PGCE department is available to help you with that, and it doesn't delay the response. Okay, so for my PGCE experience, I feel like the UP PGCE program is structured well. From doing it thus far, I have learned what I think is valuable knowledge and experience, that is from learning pedagogical knowledge, how to connect and relate with learners in class, learning the ethics that guide our teaching profession. And we are also taught how to reflect and how to keep learning continual for ourselves as teachers. Okay, thank you. That is all from me.
Well, thank you so much. I'm surprised. Thank you for sharing. Yes, so this has been wonderful. And I'm loving the questions. I think what I will do now, I will open for a few questions before I hand over to my colleague. I'll just allow for a few questions from the audience. So if you'd like to ask Dr. Xolani, Kohiso, if you'd like to ask Surprise and Spiwe any questions, go ahead and send your questions in the chat. We'll give a couple of moments for that. For my colleagues out there, I'm not able to see any of the comments in the chats. So if there are questions at the moment, can you please just highlight them for me as a brief?
Yes, with pleasure. So Timwani, hey Timwani, has a question which asks, please may you explain how the research component works in the program?
Okay, I think that's a question. Is that for, looks like it's for Surprise.
Yes. Surprise, are you still there? Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay. The research methodology project is mainly about the issues that we face in South Africa. For example, language issues, the issue of academia, research. It focuses, for now, it has focused on how Africans, how Africans research is not included in the current education system. So we focus on issues like that. We read articles and then we analyze them and discuss about them. And we also do literature review. We have a research project that we write about that involves those issues. Okay.
Thank you so much, Surprise. Dr. Xolani would also like to comment there.
Thank you, Samora. Maybe to add on what Spiwe.
Phenomenal speakers today, and I'm so grateful that you allowed yourself to be in this space and you created time out of your busy schedule. So thank you so much, Dr. Xolani. Thank you. And Spiwe and Surprise, once more, thank you for being here with us today. And I will now hand over to my amazing MC and colleague Carla.
Thank you, Sam. Yes, I see. I have a couple of questions here in our Q&A, colleagues. Xolani, I'd love to bring your voice back in because these questions are a little bit beyond me. Iviwe, yes, you've asked a question. The first one, well, I guess these are, we've only got about 5 minutes left, so, and we don't run late in that sense. So the question is the research module at NQF level 8? That's number one from Iviwe. And his second question is, can he choose his own research topic?
Thank you, Iviwe. The first question, the program is NQF. Yeah, it's just that I'm looking at them as well. So,
okay, I'll stop.
And do I choose my own research topic? Can you assist, Saprai?
Yeah. I'm a teacher too, so I see you, sir, and it's wonderful. Thank you. So that seems to be most of our questions. I'm just going to ask the presentation to come back so that I can just show us a little bit of slides. So if you're here, that means you're interested in studying at the University of Pretoria. That would be an excellent choice, as you've heard today. And at the same time, as some of the questions have come in about the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship, you may be curious around, okay, but how can I become or be part of this fellowship that is hosting this webinar series? And it's particularly intentional about finding the very best people to become teachers. On the screen, which is screenshotable, take your photographs, whichever, is a bit more detail about how you can be eligible to apply and be accepted by the Jakes Gerwel Fellowship. The first is a South African identity, so permanent resident or citizen. Your academic results, you need to be in your final year of your undergrad or graduated already with a bachelor's degree or master's or PhD level, as some of our candidate fellows are. You intend to study a PGCE to teach high school. At the moment, we're only focusing on high school at either University of Pretoria, UCT, WITS, or UJ. You intend to become a teacher and complete this PGCE, and you'll be part of our 2-year newly qualified teacher program, which means we stay with you for your first 2 years in teaching and don't step out. And you need to be under 30 at the time of the applications closing. So on our next slide, there'll be a little bit more information for you about how to go about to do this. Freddie, I see your question. I'm coming to it. On the screen, there are 2 links, okay? You have to apply to us and you have to apply to UP. We have no influence in Sir's work, Xolani's work about who gets into his program. That's his doing. And for us, we need you to apply to us so that we can at least know about you. So our applications close in I guess, maybe 2 weeks or so, whatever, around the 19th, it closes on the 19th of July. And there's the University of Pretoria's email address, website for you to then go on and make your application because they have their own deadlines. Now, Freddie, your question is spot on. Of course, you want to do some self-selection and figure out how many spots you have in the running. I have a question to you rather than an answer, which is, how will we know about you if you don't apply? It all begins with an application process. So complete the application form, and there are a couple of selection rounds. And if you make it through them, then you get accepted onto our program. To directly answer your question, Freddie, this year we will take a maximum of 40 people onto the program, and in terms of at the PGCE intake, but know that it's a competitive space. And we go through a rigorous selection process from the application form, interviews, a camp, virtual camp, and then we make offers. But Freddie, if that speaks to your imposter syndrome or makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, then I really want you to apply, and I want to see your application form cross my desk so that you know that there's something quite magical happening here, but putting yourself out there. And I know I'm speaking quite quickly. It's because we're coming to the end of our session. And at JGF, on the next slide, we want to thank you and also acknowledge that your time is valuable. That's my computer, which is why we never run late. So I want to thank you for attending. And I hope to see many more of you at the different presentations through the week so that you can make an informed decision about where you want to complete your PGCE. And congratulations on making the decision to become a high school teacher. It is one of the most powerful professions and industries that you can be in. So thank you for your time, and the recording will be online so that you can share it with anybody else that you feel like should have seen this. Have a